Olá, pessoal. Boa semana, bom começo de semana, boa segunda. E segunda é dia de começar novos projetos, fazer novos desafios, encarar essa vida, não é mesmo? Só de sair da cama já é um desafio, então se você conseguiu fazer isso, consegue fazer todo o resto. Eu tô aqui para te motivar a fazer a aula que nós temos em parceria com o Cambly. E o Cambly, como vocês já sabem, porque vocês escutam todos os dias esses episódios, é uma das melhores plataformas de inglês online. Eu falo uma das melhores porque nós estamos nessa história também. Cambly e Inglês no Cru são as melhores plataformas de ensino de inglês online. Bom, o Cambly tem uma coisa muito legal que você pode filtrar por assunto. Então, se você quer falar com uma pessoa sobre, sei lá, a geologia, a geografia, qualquer coisa parecida com isso, tem lá pessoas que vão poder falar sobre esse assunto com você. Então, quanto mais específico, melhor, não é mesmo? Às vezes você só quer jogar papo pra fora, né? E conversar, papear, também tem esse tipo de pessoa lá. Qualquer tipo de professor, qualquer nível de inglês que você tenha, você pode achar no Cambly. E, mais importante, para usar nosso cupom, é só ir no cambly.com ou no aplicativo do Cambly e colocar Inglês no Cru Podcast. Então, galera, começamos um novo mês, começamos uma nova semana, segunda-feira chegou e está te esperando para novos desafios. Então, agora é On With The Show!
Hey, Alexia. Happy Monday. How are you doing?
Happy Monday, I am fine. What about you?
I am doing excellently. Thank you. So today on the show, Alexia, we are back to normal programming, which means we are just going to teach some English.
Damn right we are.
Okay, yeah. We can teach English without being too explicit or vulgar.
Can I ask you one thing before we start?
Absolutely.
I am seeing a lot of people saying preach it. Like preach.
Just preach.
Yeah, I don't know. But what is that and how do I use it? I really want to start using it.
Okay, that is a good question. Totally off topic, but I will take a shot at it. So, preach is when you are speaking the word of, normally we use this in a religious context. For example, a preacher would be just like a priest, except normally in the Protestant tradition. So when a preacher is preaching, they are giving the sermon,
Yeah.
right? They're spreading the good word of the Bible or whatever your religion may be. So when people say preach, that is when they are really agreeing with something and they just want to reaffirm, like, yo, I love what you're saying. Preach. Keep talking about it.
Okay, so I don't think it's way off topic because we preach here every day.
Ooh,
Oh.
I don't want to compare us to a cult-like religious figure, but
It's already a cult. It's English no Cru, it's already a cult.
oh God. Okay, so let's preach.
Thank you for explaining.
Absolutely. So this week on the show, we are going to kind of revisit something that we talked about in the past. So if you are a long-time listener of the show,
Hey guys, we love you.
some of this material will be familiar, but there will be a lot of new information. So don't run away just yet.
Stay with us because we are gonna preach.
Okay, Alexa, we're good with the preaching stuff. So this week, we are going to talk about The Rules of Language Learning by Ali Richards. So if you are not familiar, Ali Richards is one of those famous internet teachers. He speaks like 8 or 9 languages, and he is the director of the website iwillteachyoualanguage.com.
Perfect.
Not as good a name as Inglês no Cru, but it makes sense, right? I will teach you a language.
Yeah.
So Ali has a podcast. And so maybe a while ago, he did some very informal podcast about the rules of language learning, which were just general tips and rules to follow when learning any language. And Alexia and I listened to the episodes and we talked about them. And now Ali has released a series of YouTube videos where he talks about these rules in more detail, more depth. So we just wanted to give them a second look, think about the things we agree about, what we don't agree about. How does that sound, Alexia?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I like when we do that because we can use a bunch of resources that we always study and bring it to English Necro Rádio, and we can talk about like how it helps me and how it could help someone else as well when you
Yeah.
are learning language, a new language, and you never stop learning it. So
Yeah, I think the most important thing and the primary reason that I wanted to do this is there is no one rule for anyone
no.
specifically. Language is a deeply personal thing. People learn in different ways.
Yeah, maybe what works for me doesn't work for you, or doesn't work for my dad, or doesn't work for my friends. But it's always good to show it and make people decide about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to think about what the most popular people and the most traditional methods are saying and what advice they're giving, and really take a critical look and think about, oh, this part I don't really agree with, but this part does work for me.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do this week. You ready to get started?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So Ali's first rule of language learning is do not take language learning advice from native speakers.
Yeah, but we had to explain this
Okay.
because
before
you
you
are
explain,
okay.
just give me your first impression, because I think most people will be like, what? That's all I want to do is talk to native speakers.
Well, as we were discussing before, and I do agree with it, one thing is practicing and the other is learning, right?
Right.
So, for example, Foster, you are a native speaker and you are teaching people how to speak better English, right?
Right.
But you have learning skills and you have teaching skills.
I hope so.
Yes, you have. So that's
Yes,
the
you do.
difference. Yes, you do.
Preach.
That's the difference. If I am talking to one of your friends and I ask them like, hey, what do I do to make my English better? They probably will say like, watch this movie,
Yeah, that's a pretty common.
go to a book club or anything like that.
Yeah. So a really important distinction that I'm not sure if Ali makes this clear enough in his video, but there's a big difference between a native speaker that has not learned another foreign language and then a native speaker that does speak other languages.
Yeah.
And then there's another difference between native speakers who are also teachers,
Yeah.
right?
So that's the main difference for me. Of course, you can practice with native speakers, but don't get their advice for granted.
Don't take their advice for granted.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what you want to say.
Sim.
Como assim?
Não pega o conselho deles, tipo, como a primeira regra do mundo que você deve seguir.
Yeah, the phrase for granted means do not.
Como garantia.
No, it's the opposite, actually.
So take their advice for granted.
Yeah, but we don't say it like that. If you take something for granted, it means you do not fully appreciate it.
Okay, so yeah, I was trying to like do not follow their advices if they don't have learning or teaching skills.
Yeah, good try. And one more tip, Alexia. In general, we do not say advices in English. We just say advice.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. One more thing that it's really weird, but that's fine.
Yeah. So I completely agree with the point that if you are in the US and you're trying to speak with someone and this person only speaks English, they have never learned another language, and they are giving you tips about your English, most of the time, that will not be super useful, right?
Yeah.
The best thing that most native speakers could say is like, oh, we don't say it like that. We say it like this.
Yeah. And then when you have the why, is that they don't know.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Or they'll say, maybe they will try to correct your pronunciation and you just hear the same thing again and again. So that is probably, I think, the main point that Ali is trying to get to is native speakers have never been through the process of learning another language.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it. Of course that you can practice with them, but don't expect to learn from them. That's it.
Yeah. Can I make a couple more clarifications?
Uh-huh.
So I think this advice can be really good advice or kind of irrelevant depending on your level of language learning. So if you are a very advanced English speaker, then we talk about this all the time. You should be talking to native speakers as much as possible.
Yeah.
But that's when we're talking about conversation practice,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're really training the art of conversation. That is not as much about you are learning more about the structure and really how to speak the language. Okay? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, for example, your dad, he started to correct me with some words, which I don't mind at all. But sometimes it's just a way that he prefers saying it. It doesn't mean that I am completely wrong.
Yeah. And
So
in general, advice from my dad about English will make things more complicated. And if you ask him why about anything, yeah, that's just the way we say it.
that's the way how South is.
How the South is.
Yes, how the South is.
Yeah. So I think just to finish, Alexia, in summation, native speakers, especially if you're a beginner, try to focus on finding teachers or at the very least, someone that has already passed through the process of learning another language because they can relate to you in a much deeper way. And if you are on a more advanced level, talk to native speakers.
Every
Practice,
day,
yeah,
every time, as much as you can.
practice conversation, but you're not necessarily trying to learn from them in the more formal sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think another way he could say this is do take language learning advice from teachers. Obviously,
easier.
there are good teachers and bad teachers, but even a bad teacher will be better than someone that has never taught before.
Yeah. So I think that's a good episode for today.
I think that's a good place to end. A nice little preaching moment for teachers.
Bridge.
Much love for all our teachers preaching. We will see you guys tomorrow with more language learning gold.
Bye.
Oi, pessoal! Obrigada por escutar mais um episódio do Inglês Necro Rádio. Por agora, nós não estamos aceitando novos alunos para o Sound School. Mas, enquanto isso, temos coisinhas bem legais que vão te ajudar com seu inglês e que também vão apoiar esse podcast mais amado dos brasileiros. Nós acabamos de lançar um novo recurso chamado Friday Freebies. A cada sexta-feira, vamos mandar para você um novo recurso que criamos para te ajudar a melhorar cada vez mais o seu inglês e também algumas coisas bem engraçadas como behind the scenes da gente. Então, para ficar por dentro disso tudo, é só acessar www.inglesnoicru.com/free, tá? Você também pode entrar na lista de espera do Sound School e também será o primeiro a saber quando as novas applications serão abertas. Você também pode deixar uma review pra gente, hein? Juro, isso ajuda muito, 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 muito. Tudo isso e mais um pouco no inglesnoicru.com. Então vai lá e, como sempre, keep up the good fight and lose well.